The best brisket I ever made in my life did not come off a $2,000 offset smoker. It came off a rusty 3-burner gas grill that I bought used for 80 bucks, sitting on a cracked patio in July. 14 hours, 1 bag of wood chips, and a roll of butcher paper. That's it. But here's the part almost nobody will tell you. The old Texas pitmasters were never worshiping the equipment. They were controlling 3 things: temperature, smoke, and time. And every single one of those is available on the gas grill you already own. So today, I'm walking you through the whole cook, start to finish. The way I'd walk a friend through it standing next to the grill with a beer in hand. Where to spend your money at the butcher counter, how to trim without butchering the thing, the 2-zone setup that turns a propane grill into a smoker, and the one moment about 8 hours in where almost everyone panics and ruins the cook. Stay with me through that part because that's where brisket lives or dies. Let's start where the cook actually starts, which is at the store, 3 days before you ever light a burner. You're looking for a whole packer brisket. That's the full cut, the flat and the point still attached, usually somewhere between 10 and 14 pounds. Not the little pre-trimmed flat sitting in the grocery case, wrapped in plastic. I know the flat looks easier, it's smaller, it's cheaper per package, it fits in your fridge. It is also the #1 reason first-time briskets come out like roofing shingles, because the flat is the lean half, and lean is exactly what you don't want when you're learning. The point is loaded with fat that bastes the meat from the inside for the entire cook, and it forgives your mistakes. You will make mistakes. Buy the forgiveness. Grade matters too, but less than you'd think. USDA choice is the sweet spot. Prime is lovely if it's on sale. Select is the only one I'd walk away from. And when you're standing there at the case, pick the brisket up and bend it. A good one flops over your hand like it's tired. A stiff one that stays flat like a board, has thin spots and hard fat, and it'll cook uneven no matter what you do. Now the trim. This is where people either get scared and skip it or get confident and take off way too much. Flip the brisket fat side up. That fat cap needs to come down to about 1/4 inch, roughly the thickness of your finger pressed flat. Any thicker and the smoke never reaches the meat under it, and nobody at your table is eating a 1/2 inch of rubbery fat. Any thinner and the flat dries out. Then flip it over and find the hard, waxy lump of fat between the point and the flat, right on the edge. That stuff never renders, ever. Cut it out. And take a knife to the thin, ragged edge of the flat, the part that flaps around, because that corner will burn to carbon over 14 hours while the thick end is still cooking. Square it off. Cold meat trims easier than room temperature meat, so do this straight out of the fridge and give yourself 20 minutes. Your first trim will be ugly. Mine was ugly for about 10 briskets. The bark hides everything. Here's where Texas gets almost offensively simple. The rub is salt and pepper. That's the whole recipe. Equal parts by volume, coarse kosher salt, and 16 mesh cracked black pepper, which is just coarse ground pepper, the stuff that looks like tiny gravel instead of dust. Central Texas joints, the famous ones with the 3-hour lines in places like Lockhart and Taylor, have been running some version of this since the meat markets started smoking briskets for German and Czech farmhands over a century ago. They weren't hiding a secret ingredient. The beef is the flavor. The rub is the frame around the painting. Coat every surface and be heavier-handed than feels polite, because a 14-pound hunk of meat laughs at a light seasoning. Then, if you can, leave it in the fridge overnight uncovered. The salt works its way in, the surface dries out a little, and dry surfaces build better bark. If you can't wait, season it an hour before the cook. Fine. But overnight is better, and it costs you nothing but planning. Now the grill. This is the part you clicked for, so let's slow down. A gas grill wants to be a convection oven. Your whole job is to stop it from being one and turn it into something with a hot side, a cool side, and a steady stream of real wood smoke drifting across the meat. That's a 2-zone setup, and on a 3-burner grill, it looks like this. One outside burner on, the other 2 off. The brisket goes on the far side, as far from the flame as the grate allows, fat side up, thick point end facing the heat. Underneath it, slide a disposable aluminum pan of hot water. The water does 2 jobs. It catches 14 hours of dripping fat before that fat can start a grease fire, and it keeps the air inside humid so the surface of the meat doesn't turn to leather. The target is 250 degrees Fahrenheit, measured at the grate next to the meat, not on the lid thermometer. That lid dial is reading the temperature of the lid, which can run 50 degrees off from where your brisket actually sits. And a 50-degree error over 14 hours is the difference between barbecue and regret. Spend $15 on a probe thermometer and lay it on the grate. It is the single best money in this entire cook. More useful than any gadget 10 times the price. So the heat is handled. But heat without smoke is just a very slow oven roast, so now we make smoke on a grill that was never designed to. Take heavy-duty aluminum foil and tear off a sheet about the size of a placemat. Pile a big handful of dry wood chips in the middle, and in Texas that means post oak if you can find it, plain oak if you can't, hickory if you want it louder. Fold the foil into a sealed pouch and poke 3 or 4 holes in the top with a knife. That pouch goes directly on the metal over your 1-lit burner, under the grate, right on the heat shield. In about 15 minutes it starts breathing thin smoke out of those holes, and one pouch runs roughly 45 minutes before it's spent. Here's the number that surprises people. You only need to feed smoke for the first 4 hours or so. Meat takes on smoke best while it's cold and the surface is moist, and after that the flavor is mostly set. So you're making maybe 5 or 6 pouches total, swapping in a fresh one when the old one quits. Build them all the night before and stack them by the grill. Future you, standing there at hour 3, will be grateful. And one more thing about that smoke, because this is where gas grill guys accidentally beat the beginners on real smokers. You want thin, almost invisible blue-tinted smoke, not thick white billows. White smoke means smoldering, dirty combustion, and it coats the meat in the acrid flavor people wrongly blame on gas grills. If your pouch is pouring white, the chips are starving for air. More holes, drier chips. When people say a brisket tastes like an ashtray, this is what happened. Close the lid, and now comes the hardest technique in Texas barbecue, which is doing absolutely nothing for 4 hours. Every time you lift that lid to peak, you dump your heat and add 20 minutes to a cook that is already the length of 2 flights to Europe. The old line is that if you're looking, you ain't cooking. And it's a cliche because it keeps being true. Around hour 4 or 5, your meat probe will read somewhere near 150, 160 internal, and the brisket will look gorgeous, mahogany going on black. Then the number stops moving. Hour 6, 163. Hour 7, 164. Hour 8, 163 again. It went down. This is the stall, and this is the moment I told you about at the start, where people panic. They crank the burners, they pull the meat off early, they decide the thermometer's broken and start Googling refund policies at 10 at night. The thermometer's fine, the brisket is sweating. Moisture is evaporating off the surface and cooling the meat exactly like sweat cools your skin, and the cook physically cannot proceed until you deal with it. You deal with it the way Texas does. Wrap it. Pull the brisket off, roll it tight in 2 overlapping sheets of peach butcher paper, and if all you have is foil, use foil. Just no foil softens the bark a bit more. The wrap stops the evaporation, the sweating ends, and the internal temp starts climbing again within the hour. Back on the cool side it goes, wrapped, lid down, same 250. No more smoke pouches needed. From here, the propane is just providing patience. Then somewhere between hour 12 and 14, you get paid. You're not chasing a number now so much as a feeling. Somewhere around 203 degrees internal, you slide the probe through the paper into the thick part of the flat, and instead of resistance, it goes in like the whole brisket gave up. Butter. That's the word every pitmaster uses because there is no better one. Wrapped in that paper is a bark black, jiggling, 14-hour Texas brisket, and it came off a propane grill on your patio. The $80 rig just beat guys with trailers. While it rests, one quick thing, because this video is honestly the short version of a much longer playbook. I put the entire system in an ebook called Poor Man's Brisket, the trim diagrams, the pouch schedule, the wrap timing, all the budget gear workarounds laid out so you can follow it grill side with greasy thumbs. Scan the QR on screen or grab the link in the description. Okay, back to the part everyone screws up at the finish line, because you are not slicing this thing yet. A brisket straight off the heat is holding all its juice under pressure, and cutting it now pours your 14 hours onto a cutting board. rested, still wrapped, in a dry cooler with a towel over it for a minimum of 1 hour, and 2 is better. The famous joints hold briskets way longer than that. The temperature drifts down slowly, the juices thicken and settle back into the meat, and the texture transforms. Then slice against the grain, pencil thick, and here's the trap. The grain in the flat and the grain in the point run about 90 degrees to each other, so slice the flat until you hit the seam, turn the whole brisket, and keep going. A perfect slice should hang over your finger and pull apart with a gentle tug, not fall to shreds and not snap. So was any of this actually about the grill? 14 hours ago, you had the same propane burner as every dad in America, and now there's a Texas brisket on your counter. The pit was never the barrier. The knowledge was, and the patience still is, and only one of those can be bought. Which makes me want to know what you'll chase next. Ribs, pork butt, a whole packer for Thanksgiving. Tell me in the comments what cook I should break down next, and if this one saved you $2,000 on a smoker, the subscribe button is a lot cheaper than that. I'll see you at the next cook. Word count 2036.